Good afternoon, everyone. This is Campbell McCreary from Amvest Capital. Welcome to the Amvest Capital live webinar with Regency Silver Corp. Regency trades on the venture as RSMX and at Regency Silver Mexico. Hope you enjoyed today's program. It will be available in on-demand replay about an hour after we wrap up today. A few things, housekeeping, asking a question of management is important. Just highlighted that box. So type in a question and send it over. And if you like what you're seeing right now, you can share this event in real time on social media. And also we'll prepare an email for you. Amvest is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource sector. Please note this call is most definitely for informational purposes only. And today we have with us Chairman and Director Bruce Braganolo and President and CEO Hayes Groenewegen. So anyway, I talk to you live from PDAC in Toronto, but normally in New York. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Thanks, Campbell. And thank you, everybody, for attending our webinar today. It's been a while since I did my first webinar with Campbell, probably 10 years ago, with Silvermex Resources. It's it's been a very changing market in the meantime. Regency Silver Corp is our latest company. We're looking for high-grade silver in Mexico. And I'd like to thank you all for attending today and showing interest in Regency Silver Corp. As it says, our trading symbol is RSMX on the TSXV. We're recently listed. The actual listing was just in May of 2022, so last month. And we successfully raised just over $3 million to drill at our flagship Dios Padre property in northern Mexico. You can see from the cover page, that is the some of our core from hole RDP 1812, and that is exactly what we're looking for, 12.4 meters of 558 grams per ton. And I'll explain to you how we plan to expand the resource and drill into what we hope is a big new discovery just 500 meters to the north of the existing Dios Padre mine. We managed to gather up all of the old drill information, historical from Silver Standard, from First Majestic. And what I've found in the past is as you gather up the information, you can get a good feel for what has gone on at the property. And I could tell from the old drilling that there was a substantial resource of silver at Dios Padre. And, we managed to take all the information, add our own drilling to it, and we came up with a very good initial resource of 9.5 million mainly silver ounces at 236 grams per ton. That is a grade that makes us believe, we still have to do some studies, but that is the kind of grade that allows you to mine. We have to do more studies, of course, to get us to that level. But this is a good situation, even with those number of ounces and with that grade, to do contract mining and start shipping ore to a mill. So that is something that we'd be looking at in the future. For now, we do have a 43-101 compliant resource. So what is attractive about Regency Silver and our projects? The first thing is, I have years of experience working in Mexico. Timmins Gold was a startup just like Regency Silver, and we took that to from a market cap of $7 million to a market cap of $475 million, share price of 35 cents to a share price of $3.50. So I do have a track record in Mexico. My first project in Mexico was with Continuum Resources, and that became the San Jose mine of Fortuna Resources. So that is a very successful silver mine. And then I also founded Silvermax Resources, and that was eventually sold to First Majestic for $175 million. And that also started with a $7 million market cap. With the right market conditions and with the right projects and the right amount of drive and foresight, you can drive a company from 7 million to a much higher valuation. And that's our plan with Regency Silver. The Dios Padre property is a high quality asset. I always look for assets that are substantial, that have the potential for both a new discovery and have an existing resource. Let's face it, it's easier to buy resources than it is to develop them yourself. So we managed to get all of that information, all of the drilling, over 10,000 meters of drilling, and package it all into that resource. And what attracted me initially to the Dios Padre property is the grade. I mean, for example, there's 1.9 meters of over 3 kilos of silver in one of the holes, and also the width. They're 60-foot high old chambers inside the existing workings, and we feel that the existing workings are only scratching the surface of this whole project. There have been 20 million ounces estimated extracted from this project, and there's another 10 million ounces sitting there right now. We hope to add substantially to that through our drilling, and we also hope to get a new discovery at the IP anomaly, which I'll be showing you shortly. Now, the valuation, unfortunately, has gotten better from the shareholder's perspective of a new shareholder coming in. The issue price of 25 cents that we did for our IPO was undervalued, in my estimation, and it's gotten more undervalued. So right now we're trading at a market cap of $6 million. That's 75 cents an ounce for our ounces in the ground. With only 63 million shares out, we managed to avoid the dilution that has plagued a lot of silver companies over the last few years. Their constant need for capital has driven up the share counts of a lot of companies. And we've managed to get by with a skeleton budget for a few years, and we don't have any warrants from the IPO. We do have some existing warrants, but very few. So our capital structure is very tight. Near-term catalysts. Well, we're drilling at the end of this month. The drill is scheduled for mobilization on the 20th. There's always a couple of days in between mobilization and the actual drill turning. So I'm leaving on the 20th. I'm going to look at a few more properties on the way. And we expect to be into the anomaly by the end of June. And then we'll be waiting for assays to come back as we go. So we got a very exciting 30 days coming up for the company. As we look at our existing projects at Dios Padre and also at El Tule down in Nayarit, and work through the Sierra Madres on our way up from Mazatlan all the way up into northern Sonora, where the Dios Padre property is located. So there's our board of directors and management. I've already given my history. Hesper Groenewegen, who is also on this call, is the CEO and director. Hes, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about your history.
Okay. So my background is law. I was educated as a lawyer, worked for Barings Securities in London in the analyst department. Subsequently, I co-founded a stockbroking firm called the Europe Company, covering European equities, selling it into the US, the UK, and in France. and we sold that company to Jefferies in New York. I left in 2002, and subsequently I founded with Cal Tigerson the Gold Arrow Fund, where we focused on all the minerals, but specifically gold and silver. We unwound that in 2011. I went into biotech, and Bruce asked me to join on the board of Regency Silver. And when I saw the grades and the width of the silver intercepts, I was very pleased to see that and join, because it often tells you that there is a lot more. I'm of course in favor of grade, but what I find even more important is the width of the intercepts, because that tells me something about the continuity and the scale. And I think we have a very interesting project here, as Bruce already alluded to.
Thanks, Keith. So also, Mike Thompson is an independent director, and Mike and I go way back to our old high school days in Timmins, Ontario. Mike is a former investment banker, and he's a past member of the TSXV Listing Advisory Committee. Joining me on this next trip is going to be Michael Tucker. He is currently the VP Exploration for Caris Gold Corp. But I think more importantly, he's the former exploration manager for Balmoral Resources, and he's very familiar with large exploration programs and looking at grassroots properties. So we've got a very lean and a very capable board, and we're able to make decisions on a timely basis. So this next slide, here's a few highlights. If you look at the bottom slide, that is the San Francisco mine, which I financed, raised every penny for that project. It's a 24,000 ton a day crushing circuit with an open pit mine in the background, and it's it's still a good mine. It's been operating continuously since 2009 when we started our test pour, and it's been a good mine. At the time we acquired it at Timmins Gold, it was deemed to be too low grade, but the price of gold went from $400 to $1,900, and that helped immensely. We managed a tight ship there. Things went a little south in 2013 with the price of gold and with rising costs, but the mine was built on time, on budget. We did everything we said we were going to do with Timmins Gold, including listing on the NYSE MKT in 2011. That was a real highlight of my life, listing on that market and being able to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. So we took Timmins Gold from $7 million to $475 million, raised over $75 million in equity and $18 million in debt, and production peaked at 121,000 ounces. Now, one thing I'd like to stress is when I first started at Timmins Gold, I really didn't know much about marketing companies, but in the 10 years that I spent there, I got to meet a lot of people. So we have a real head start, both with my experience, with Hess's experience, with the experience of our board over the last few years. We have a real head start in marketing and telling the word about the company. And the rest of my background has already been explained. So, there's a lot of experience on the board and management with building public companies. So, where is Dios Padre? Dios Padre is right in the Sierra Madres. The Sierra Madres have become, the place to look for silver assets. That whole area is going to open up in the next few years because it's underexplored right now. You wouldn't think it'd be underexplored, but it definitely is. As a as a reason for that and a rationale behind it, all of the the marijuana growing, which this area has been famous for, now takes place in California. So that has been shut down, and it's an interesting open area now for exploration, and it's going to be a go-to location for new silver projects over the course of the next 10 years. I'll be asking Hess later to go through the macro picture for silver, but our basic belief is that silver is going higher. It's given money printing and everything else that's happened, it's going much higher. It's just a question of time. And it's projects like Dios Padre and the projects we'll be bringing into the company that are going to be proved up in the next few years, that are going to add significant value to shareholders and to companies. So where is it? Well, it's here, just south of Hermosillo and almost on the border with Chihuahua. There's a lot of mines in the district: Dolores, Mulatos, Pinos Altos. Mulatos is a big open pit. It may be an analog to what we're looking for in that it is a dacite dome, and that's what we're looking for here at Dios Padre. But really, we're just looking for silver. I don't really care how it got there. I just want to be able to prove it up. And in our case, our goal now is not to develop unless it's necessary. We would much rather build it up, drill it, and sell it. That is our corporate mandate. We feel that that adds value much faster for shareholders. I've tried building a large mining company. The cycle overtakes you. So there's a much faster return for shareholders if we're able to hit the market at the correct time when people, mid-tiers and larger companies need to fill their pipelines. And that's the case right now because there's been a vast underinvestment in silver projects. There's been very little exploration done. So why did I like Dios Padre so much? What attracted Hess to the company? Well, it's high grade over good width, multiple zones of wide, high-grade silver mineralization. Here's some of the highlights. Now, even having holes like this would get a lot of people excited. 1.9 meters of 3 kilos of silver, inside 32.5 meters of 408 grams of silver. Now, I want to stress, I've seen most silver projects in Mexico, and I've seen some good ones, and I've seen some bad ones. Most of the bad ones are the ones that don't ever become mines, are just too narrow to mine. They're half a meter wide. You can't really mine those economically because your dilution is too high. So it's the width here that gets me. And these breccias, which is what Dios Padre is, these big breccias like this contain some very good grade. This is what the mid-tiers are looking for. So for us, it's really a question of finding the extension of the existing mine works, and then hopefully they match up with a source that is the IP anomaly, and hopefully we can drill into that and hit something that looks like the first page with 500 grams. 1812, 12.4 meters of 558 grams. 1706, 5.2 meters of a kilo. 1506, 28.8 meters of 467 grams. So these are very good intercepts. There's been enough work done, obviously, to produce a resource. And we now need to find more ounces, because 10 million ounces, while it could be good in a slightly higher silver price environment, doesn't really make us a mid-tier target yet. So what have we planned? Well, we've got 4 holes planned up dip of the higher grade area, which you can see in red. This is the model for the resource estimate at Dios Padre. This is a cross section, and you can see kind of the plan view at the top. the old underground workings are made out in pink, and I'd like to thank our resource estimate person, Gordon Gibson, for putting this together. He did a very good job using Leapfrog software of compiling the data, compiling the location of the old workings. And these workings are substantial. I'd really like to get in there and sample the pillars inside those old workings, because they must all be a kilo plus. They didn't mine in the old days, and I say old days, going back even 100 years, they never mined less than a kilo of silver. So the fact that these large caverns are in there indicates that there was extensive high-grade silver throughout this entire existing mine work. And then you can see the resource. It's very close to surface. It starts on surface and goes down about 100 meters or so. So that's step one, and drilling deeper in here would be a very good use of our drill resources. But the real target is this big IP anomaly. Now, we don't know if this is a discrete anomaly. We don't know if this is the feeder for the existing workings. But when you have the old mine site to the left, and it looks like it hooks up with the IP target, and the IP target is only 550 meters away, and there's other outcrop to the northeast and northwest, and the old mine workings are to the south, it looks like this definitely has something to do with the mineralization at the existing mine workings. So we believe that the mine workings right now are a rhyolite plug. Maybe it's the top part of the rhyolite plug. Maybe there's a fault. Maybe the IP target doesn't outcrop right where it has the highest signature, but definitely that IP target has something to do with mineralization. So we're very excited to be drilling into it, and we'll be doing that at the end of this month. So that's Dios Padre. That is a very prospective target with an existing mine working. But I'm also very excited about the El Tule project in Nayarit. With Timmins Gold, I drove to a lot of different places in Mexico. I drove all the way through northern Sonora, from all the way from Alamos up to Puerto Peñasco, where Peñolas, well, now Fresnillo, has the La Herradura mine, which is a massive open pit. So I've driven across the desert, and the hard part, working in the desert, is trying to piece together enough ounces to make a mine. And that's a big problem in Mexico. Is you can find mineralization in lots of different places. How do you put that all together to make a mine? Well, the way you do it is you have to have continuity. So the El Tule project looks to me like one big system that extends over 5.5 kilometers. It's readily apparent when you see the artisanal workings that you see on the bottom left of the slide. That slide is looking to the south. Then you just turn around, you look to the north, and there's the rest of the pit. And it's the same mineralization that you see 3.5 kilometers away, which is the top right, which is, the top right picture was taken looking from where those people are standing. And there's the picture of the pit at the top right. So if you've got 3.5 kilometers of the same type of mineralization, and artisanal miners are just digging it out of the ground and putting it through a sieve and mining it out, then you see that there's some size to the whole structure. There's some size to the prospectivity. There has been some trenching done in the past with good results in between. So, and the mineralization here extends even beyond this. So it's a big system. We're going to get some work done there after we drill at Dios Padre. we're going to do a mapping and sampling program and hopefully get some subsurface type of drilling, or some kind of a cheap augering, just to see what's underneath the surface here. There's a little bit of organic matter, maybe a meter of it covering the surface, but underneath that you hit rock fairly quickly. So the grade looks good here from our sampling. We did get some samples exceeding 1 ounce of gold per ton, and this is a very good project. It's one of the better ones that I've seen in Mexico, and we're quite excited about this as well. So that's where we're at. And where are we going to be looking for new projects? We're going to be looking right along the spine of the Sierra Madres in a very underexplored area. I would say Las Chispas of Silvercrest has been one of the biggest success stories of the last 5 years, along with Kirkland Lake Gold down at Fosterville. But there's other Las Chispas deposits out there, and we'll be looking through this district here and down from Mazatlan right up to Dios Padre. So that's our plan for the company. Keep the pipeline full, keep the drills turning as much as possible, and set ourselves up for success with through our contacts in Mexico, and through through a bunch of hard work actually on the ground and with the company. S, you want to give a bit of background on the what you feel the macro picture looks like right now?
Yep. So I have here some transitory inflation figures. Natural gas, these are changes over the last year. Plus 176%, heating oil plus 100%, gasoline plus 91%, WTI crude plus 70%, cotton plus 66%, wheat plus 54%, coffee plus 48%, soybeans plus 11%, sugar plus 9%. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I don't think that anybody disputes that inflation is huge and very much understated by the governments. We see that for May, the CPI figure in the US was 8.6%, unexpected because people thought it would be lower than the 8.3%. And in the EU, the inflation figure was 8.1%. Shadow Stats, who has been calculating the inflation figures in the old method, in other words, so that, for example, more expensive items would be replaced by cheaper items. He has kept the same calculation as in the beginning, and he sees that that the inflation figure is more like 17%. I think what's important to know is that people in the market still don't believe that the Fed won't be able to solve the inflation problem. And we think it will be a huge problem because the Fed has to make a decision between either hiking the economy into oblivion or basically back off and apply quantitative easing again, which means further inflation. We have seen the inflation, for example, in Turkey this year so far at around 72.5%, 73%. Well, the PPI is 132%. And that brings me to gold and silver. And why silver? Because silver in the last 4 periods, in the 70s, in the year 2000, 2008, and now, silver has, on average, outperformed gold by about 63%. It ranges between about 32% and 170%. But silver is the laggard with real torque, as being mentioned, and hence why we are so interested in silver. Also because silver is poor man's gold, as we know, and has a much higher percentage increase, most likely going forward, than gold. Especially with a deposit as we so far have at Dios Padre with, more than 500 grams per ton over 30 meters, we are very much determined to drill this resource and make a success out of it under the circumstances.
Yeah, thanks, Hess. You know, in addition, silver, this is one thing that Bob Quartermain mentioned to me years ago. Silver has a lot of industrial uses. Only something like, 7 to 10% of silver is investment demand. But with the green revolution and the need for silver as a conductor and in electronics and as a battery metal, the demand for silver is going up at a time when the supply is dwindling due to a lack of investment into the sector. So that's the micro picture. That's the macro picture. And I'd like to open it up now for discussion. Any questions from anybody?
Yes. Tuning in. Can you go a little bit more into the history of the project and how far back? Does it go back to Spanish days? When was it last mined? Who owned it? Why was it ignored for so long?
Sure. Yeah, this has been mined since the Jesuit days. So it must have been very high grade back in those days. It's funny, most of the mining back then was pick and shovel, and they packed out they would actually build in Mexico these furnaces, and they would set fire to the rock and melt out the silver. So it's and then they would ship that out on mules, and it was all very labor intensive. So the grade had to be exceptional in those days. So then the mine, kind of shut down. It went through the early 1900s. It was owned by a succession of small owners. And then it was picked up by the Kennemure family out of Texas in the 1980s. And they've owned it on a continuous basis since then. And it was optioned. They were small scale mining it, very small scale. And then they optioned it to First Majestic. And First Majestic drilled and had some good results, but they couldn't find the extension of the ore body. Then it was picked up by First Majestic. First Majestic did some drilling, very good grades once again, but they couldn't find the extension. They didn't do any IP, so that IP would have been invaluable to them in understanding the whole structure. And, a lot of the modeling that was done back then just wasn't as good as the modeling that can be done today with all the new digital systems as well. The data was good, but they just couldn't get the modeling done. And then it was picked up, and First Majestic, their option payments were $6 million over 6 years. So they had some big payments to make. So they had to make those decisions very quickly before they spent too much on the property. We picked it up for what I would consider to be a bottom of the market price. And we just finishing off the expiration component of the purchase price. So after this drill program and some more work, we'll have earned 100% interest. But it was also picked up by NSX Silver in 2011, and they did the IP. But they didn't drill into the heart of the anomaly, which is surprising. They seemed to drill over the top of it, like they were bouncing off somebody's helmet. Meanwhile, there hasn't been one hole into the heart of that anomaly. So we're very keen to get the drills turning, and you can bet that I'll be standing over that drill when it's turning. That we should know about between 150 and 300 meters down what this anomaly is, and we feel that our modeling will give us a big advantage over the previous owners.
You have Pan American, Alamos, Agnico, all around you, all these operations. Do you see how this might fit into what they're doing there? Would there be anyone who would be a district consolidator?
Well, the most obvious party or company up in that area is Pan American. So our goal is to drill off a deposit that is something that they'd be interested in. And, as I said previously, our goal here is not to be an operator. Our goal is to be, in the discovery mode, and to take a deposit like this, drill it, prove it up, and then sell it, and not have to dilute our shareholders with construction financing, which can be quite tricky. I've done it before. I know how tricky it is. So that's something we'd be trying to avoid. We'd rather spend the money on drilling than on development.
Okay, and then are there any workings you can get into or know about, or you've mapped it, or you're just doing everything from surface?
We're doing it all from surface. The old workings are underwater, so we would have to pump it out. We would have to check all the timbers. We're not in a position to even want to do that right now. I'd much rather drill it, and we can do that from surface. Yeah. If we're successful on this program coming up, and we drill something that looks shiny coming out of the like that first hole on the first page, if we can drill something like that into the IP anomaly, then we would consider dewatering the existing workings right here. Consider dewatering these, and then drifting down into the anomaly. It looks like it hooks up somewhere in there. You notice that the IP anomaly, the IP response at the existing mine is not as strong as the IP target. So the new anomaly has a much stronger response. So we're very curious. That would indicate there's more pyrite there, which more sulfides, which would indicate a bit more gold, perhaps. So that's a very interesting target.
Okay. Thoughts currently on the Mexican tax situation and friendliness to mining currently?
Well, this government is it doesn't send really clear messages, let's say, for any industry, to tell you the truth. I don't think it has singled out mining in particular. The difficult part in Mexico has been to get new claims issued. So it's important that there's, you're basically better off to buy a property from someone than to try to stake your own ground, because it might be 2 years before they get the website up and running to even show you your claims are registered. Really, the biggest issue in Mexico right now is just a lack of funding in the government. I think the main thing is just keep the claims in good standing, which we've done. And the tax, we don't plan to be paying the tax because we don't plan to be operating it. The tax is 30% corporate tax, and there's a 7.5% special tax on mining production. So we don't plan to be paying that. We plan to drill it and sell it.
Excellent. What sort of main city are you near? Just general access, and where does the mining community live around here?
There's a couple of small towns near here. One at Santa Rosa, which is about 5 kilometers from the Dios Padre mine. And there's a larger town called Yecora, which is about 20 kilometers away. Those could be places where a workforce could live. The biggest city is Hermosillo, which is about 5 hours away, and that's a mining hub. The access, as in most places in Mexico, is excellent. There's there's power nearby. There's paved roads. The access to the property, maybe the last 5 kilometers, is dirt road. So one thing about Mexico, the infrastructure is fantastic when it comes to mining, unless you're in an extremely remote area.
How many years and holes do you think it will take so you would have something that would be attractive to a Pan American where they might want to cozy up? Or could they partner? Is that an option?
Yeah, I'd prefer not to partner. My idea is if you really like it, keep it. If you really like it and you can get the right price for it, you sell it. Joint venturing, to me, I'm not really that keen on it. That's my own personal view. That's subject to change, of course. But really, we're just looking for some way to maximize value for shareholders here. We're open to anything that can maximize value. As far as a number of meters goes, generally speaking, for an open pit deposit, I like to see 100,000 meters of drilling with targets that are this size and that hopefully are fairly compact targets. I would say 50,000 meters of drilling here would be sufficient to define a very nice resource. There's already been 13,000 meters, so another 50,000 meters would be more than enough. And the nice thing in Mexico is the drilling costs are around $100 a meter for core drilling. The assays and the geologists and everything else, they add about another $100. So all in, you're $200 US per meter. That gets you a lot of bang for your buck in Mexico. And that's one of the real advantages of working in Mexico.
Excellent. Pass this to Nicholas to ask a few questions.
Sure. Bruce, with your wealth of experience of operating in Mexico, and if you could make the comparison between this cycle and your experience in the previous one, which would you say that are the things that had become easier and better than in the previous one and more challenging maybe in the current cycle?
Well, I guess the thing that stands out the most, Nicholas, is just my experience in country. I went down almost cold with Timmins Gold and Silvermex. Didn't have a lot of experience in the country, but I managed to find good partners and work our way through any challenges. It was a different market back then. It just seemed like everything was pointing in the direction of gold and silver. There had been a big blowout in 2000 in the tech sector, and everybody was waiting for the next big thing. And the next big thing was deemed to be gold and silver. We haven't had that blowout yet. So this is so early on that it's unbelievable how early this is in the cycle. We've got many years ahead of us in the resource sector. You get a feeling for things after a few cycles. And my feeling now is that the tech sector has become tired. I'm not saying it's over with. Certainly there's a lot of good companies, but I do think that commodities now, as Hess mentioned with oil and inflation, commodities are going to be coming on over the next, say, decade, and they'll have their place again. So we're still really early. And probably too early to attract a lot of investment dollars unless you get a bit of a frenzy. But I do think that the time is coming for gold and silver and commodities in general.
Excellent. The other question was going to be more on the social side, relationship with Ejidos in the two properties in El Tule and Dios Padre. how is that? How you're managing that? You have people on the ground?
Yes, we have one thing that's very important in Mexico. One thing I've always said about Mexico is one of the biggest sins in Mexico is not to be liked. So the biggest thing down there is be respectful of the local people, respect your workers, and you'll go very far in the country. So we have an agreement with the Ejido at Dios Padre, and we intend to build on that. We have a lot of people on the ground down there and a lot of expertise to draw upon for those types of issues to help us maneuver our way through. We had a very good track record at Timmins Gold. We had outreach programs into the community, and we had a social worker. Those are the types of programs that we intend to reproduce, but we won't have the same footprint here because we're going to be an exploration company. So we do plan to manage things appropriately to make sure that we're respectful of the local communities and of the environment, and make sure that we're a good corporate citizen all the way through here. Down at El Tule, that is, I would say, semi-productive farmland. So that shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Once we have success there, we've already identified the local landowners that we need to talk to. It's basically chili farming on small plots of land. So it'll take a bit of work to piece it all together, but ultimately we feel that that's something we could piece together over the course of a few months. First thing is though to have success with the drill programs.
Unfortunately, I was offline for a bit, so I don't know if you mentioned this, but how deep do you think you're going to be drilling underneath the historical working in Dios Padre? Because you said that historical working was up to 100 meters. Would you be going underneath, and for how much?
Yeah, we're going to. Here's the plan. We're going to drill the IP target first. Hopefully we're successful at the IP target. If we're successful there, we'll be drilling deeper, much deeper, anywhere from 400 to 600 meters. Then we'd be looking at trying to hook up the two projects by drilling in between. You can see a little bit on that slide at page 10.
Yep.
That the workings look like they extend over to the IP anomaly, or the IP anomaly extends over to the existing workings. So there is potential at depth, there's potential along strike, and there's a lot of potential at the IP target. So we're going to have to see how the results go from the IP target. But we're certainly going to get good results because we're going to go both up dip and down dip of the existing workings. And that's going to hopefully at some point add to the resource at the Dios Padre mine itself.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned that the vision, sorry to interject there, Campbell, the vision was to create a pure exploration company and not really foreseeing becoming ultimately a producer from the current resource base and the blue sky potential from the IP anomaly. And overall, what type of resource you would like to be building in terms of size on this property in Dios Padre?
Well, just looking at the relative sizes of the current mine workings and the IP target, if there's 30 million ounces at the current workings, we've got potentially a 50 to 100 million ounce target at the IP target. And, given similar grade, and these are all hypotheticals, of course, but given, the footprint leads us to believe that there's potential for a 50 to 100 million ounce target, which is what the mid tiers and majors are looking for, and that's what Silver Standard and First Majestic were looking for, but they didn't do the IP, so they didn't have that target. If worse comes to worse, we would drill. We would keep drilling at the existing Dios Padre mine workings, with the view to getting 20 million ounces around the same grade. At $30 silver, that would be a very nice contract mining situation. There is a mill that's being refurbished only 70 kilometers away. You know, we could ship 200 tons a day, let's say, to that mill and make some good money. I've just run some back of the napkin estimates of mining cost. We're probably looking at $100 a ton all in, processing, mining underground, et cetera, because mining costs are cheaper in Mexico, and those are US dollars. So, you know, if you've got, let's say, 210 grams, and you've got $30 an ounce, you know, 210 grams is 7 ounces. So you've got you could have a good situation there where you know, given a slightly higher silver price, and we've been at $30 before. We just got to get back there. So that would be a real catalyst to look at some type of a contract mining, contract milling situation here to generate cash flow.
And assuming you're successful here and you keep on adding projects to the portfolio of Regency, the fact that you came across with this opportunity, because it has been an underexplored area in the Sierra Madre, which is sometimes awkward to believe in. But the fact that this marijuana situation has sort of disappeared, and the locals should be known that you struck this deal for Dios Padre. Are you coming across other similar type of opportunities in that niche and specific part of the neighborhood, or not?
Well, we're working our way up from Mazatlan. There's a few mining districts along the way, and we're looking for these types of opportunities. They won't be as advanced as this because a lot of them just haven't been drilled. I mean, I've got five properties that I want to have a good look at. One is in the Panuco district. The other one is up near Toyoltita, San Dimas. There's another one in Durango. And these are all areas that I visited in the past and looked at different projects. There's going to be a big opportunity throughout the Sierra Madres over the next 10 years. There's going to be a lot of new discoveries. We want to use our extensive network of contacts in Mexico to bring in projects, examine them, and select the ones that we like the best that have the potential to be something that a mid-tier or a major would be interested in. They have to have size potential. I'm not interested in half a meter of 500 grams. We need something with some size. You can get mesmerized.
Well, thank you so much.
You get mesmerized down there. I mean, you can walk into the local bar and find a dozen guys that have properties with an old mine on them, some type of a tunnel going into the side of the hill with, some type of silver mineralization. They're all over the place. It's just finding the right ones that have size potential that counts.
Well, definitely, yes. And well, with Campbell, we have known you for a long time and saw your success in both two teamings and Silvermex. And they all started from the similar situation as Regency these days. So best of luck and happy drilling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for attending, everybody.
Yeah. Why don't you close us and just kind of recap again, 3, 6, 12, 18-month catalysts, news to follow. Why should we look at the stock in June?
Bruce?
Sorry, what can we expect for the stock?
What the milestones are going to be.
Go over catalysts. Could we summarize near, medium, and long-term catalysts, and what should we expect right now, and why should we be paying attention in the middle of June?
Okay, well, we should be paying attention because, first of all, we have an existing 10 million ounce resource, which looks like we can expand on that with minimal drilling. Secondly, we have a massive IP target right beside an existing high-grade silver resource with very good widths in a breccia. So that is notable. The assays will take, the drilling's going to take about 2 months, and the assays will take, we'll be getting assays back as we go, but we should get all of our assays back within 6 weeks of finishing the program. So by the end of the summer, we'll have a very good idea of what we've got at Dios Padre. And then we'll be acquiring new projects as we go. We've already got an idea of the price of some of these projects, and we feel that we're going to cut some very good deals on at least 3 of them, and they won't be for big money. And then we've got to get some work done at El Tule. I think just a first phase mapping and sampling program will go a long way to helping us unlock the potential there. Maybe some mag or some EM to see what's underneath. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got big plans for the company, and we don't plan to be sitting at this share price or with just kind of preliminary results for very long. We plan to be aggressively drilling and working our projects so we can unlock the value of them.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk again soon. You've just attended the inaugural Regency Silver Amvest webinar.